Okay, hello. Could you please introduce yourself and your position in this organization?
Yeah, sure. My name is Alejandro Casala, and I was formerly the membership director of Active Minds at UCLA.
Mhm. What does your organization do?
So essentially, Active Minds' main goal is to promote mental health awareness throughout campus, and that's done in a variety of ways that usually range from events that we try and put on that are campus-wide, as well as events within our organization. We also have weekly meetings where we discuss a variety of topics that were um, relevant to mental health with speakers and presentations and such. And yes, we also just try and promote a very healthy community within our organization and try and spread that message as much as we can.
Mhm. What does being a member typically look like?
So typically, general members' duties usually know what committee they're placed in. So within Active Minds, there's a few different committees that you can be a part of. They all have their own sort of initiative that pertain to mental health. So you have things like advocacy and outreach and events. So you would typically be working with the directors of your committee, and typically that can range from setting up events to doing presentations and meetings and such. So it really depends. And there are, leadership positions that are available. So for those that are interested in that, that's a certain possibility, which has, there's a lot of variety in the things that you could apply for. So it really just depends on what you feel would suit you best. But yeah, that's typically how things would look like for a member.
Yeah, what makes your organization different from other pre-health organizations on campus?
Yeah, so I would say that the main thing that sets Active Minds apart is the fact that there is such a big emphasis on mental health. Um, it's obviously not meant to take away from what other pre-med orgs are doing. I would say it's more that those can prioritize more of the physical manifestations of health, whereas Active Minds definitely places a lot more focus on mental health, which is something that especially within the pre-med sphere at UCLA on top of that. It's definitely something that is very relevant and benefits many people because it's not usually something that people tend to prioritize, especially in this field. So um, I will say that Active Minds isn't necessarily like pre-med in its nature, but I feel like a lot of principles do apply in the sense that we get a lot of people who come in from psychology and such and other STEM majors. So it really just has like a broad reach with the emphasis on mental health.
Yeah, for sure. And is there an application for your organization? And if so, what are they due, and what does the application process look like?
Yeah, so there is an application. However, it really is only meant to get an idea of who you are and what the best fit for a committee would be for you. The applications are accepted on a rolling basis and they're done year round. I'm not too entirely sure when applications will open for this upcoming academic year, but they're usually, beginning of fall quarter and such. So yeah, it's really just an opportunity to talk about yourself, your experiences with mental health, what your interests are in um, in that area, and really gives you a chance to rank what you would most want to do within the org. And yeah, it is constant. There isn't necessarily a deadline per se, so it really is just whenever you feel most comfortable applying.
And adding on to that, what qualities distinguish applicants as strong candidates for the organization?
Right. So I would say in that regard, the main thing that we would be looking for is just really get that you can really convey your attitude about mental health. I'm not sure if I would word it that way. More so, just like um, to get a feel if you have genuine interest in this field, and really just get an idea of who you are. Sort of like it's not necessarily like one person's experience is prioritized or placed at a higher regard than someone else's. It really just is seeing you as a very complete and willing person who can contribute to the organization's initiatives. So um, I would say like um, there really isn't an emphasis on selectivity or anything of that sort. In the sense that we're very selective about who we choose to be part of our organization. You really just have to put the effort into making sure that you really want to be a part of this org, and that we can get a feel of like the type of person that you are.
For sure. And what is one impactful personal experience you've had within the organization?
Right. I would say the most impactful experience for me would probably have to be the suicide awareness event that we held this previous year. It was I forget exactly the name of it, but it was Send Silence Packing. That's what it was. It was essentially this big display of backpacks in Wilson Plaza, I believe, just at the base of the John Steps, and essentially that was done to promote awareness of suicide, and more specifically suicide within students. So this gave an opportunity for people to come and um, read about some people's experiences, and it's just a really powerful display that really sends a powerful message about how important mental health is when you're in school, and making sure to check up on one another, and just prioritize your mental health whenever possible. So I would say that that's the one that I walked away most with,
Mhm.
I guess, the most impact.
Okay.
There have been a number of other events that we held throughout the year that do still resonate with me, but I would say that that's um, probably the most impactful of those.
Yeah, I think that's a good bridge onto our next question. How does your organization tackle mental health issues or raise awareness?
Right. So I would say that Active Minds tackles mental health by bringing awareness through a variety of events. And that could range from anything to what I just described with Send Silence Packing, which is, a very big, very, powerful display, to something as simple as like painting canvas bags on the grass, just as a very de-stressor, relaxing event during finals or midterms per se. So there is a lot of range in that regard. But I would say for the most part, Active Minds accomplished that by brainstorming these really meaningful events, and the process for these can take months. So it really, a lot of work does go into them, and we've held events such as mental health conferences where we had different speakers come in, talk about maybe their experiences or ways that we could promote our experiences, or um, deal with the issues that we struggle with pertaining to mental health. We also had a networking night where we have a more professional setting, and you can interact with professionals in the mental health field, which is really helpful if you do want to pursue some sort of career, or go deeper into the mental health sphere. Um, and yeah, there really is just a lot of ways that Active Minds promoted mental awareness. I would say most of it is just bringing students together, and on that, not just students, just like anyone who is concerned with mental health, and giving them the information, the resources, and I would say the camaraderie, the friendship of other members to lean on, and there that just manifests itself in a variety of ways.
Yeah. Um, and how does your organization provide resources to the UCLA student body in regards to wellness, if you guys do?
Yeah, so typically, I've seen this happen in many of our meetings in the form of a speaker coming in. Oftentimes, when they're done with their presentations, they'll usually provide their own information and resources, which members can choose to look into if they so please. We also, through our meetings, we'll typically always have some of the more well-known resources on campus listed. So, if I recall correctly, we had a list of various mental health resources on campus, ranging from things like CAPS to therapy groups and such. Really depends on what exactly you're looking for in a resource. So we Active Minds does provide those resources in a very organized manner, and usually through our more public events, there'll also be resources available for those who need it or those who want to look into that after the fact.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. And lastly, is there anything else you wanted to share about active minds that you didn't get a chance to?
Yeah, I would say in that regard, I would say getting involved with leadership can be pretty rewarding. I would say that you're able to meet, a variety of different people who, have, genuine interest in mental health. And um, that isn't necessarily saying that you need to be in leadership to build these relationships. I would just say from my experience, I was able to interact with all these great people and sort of build these friendships over time. And even when I was just a regular member, the relationships that developed within my own committee, with my directors and the other members, it just felt like a very close, safe environment where I didn't really have to feel like I had to hide anything about myself or, put on a facade or anything like that. So I would say, it just creates a really sort of safe environment where, you can, say as much as you want, or, you know, don't have to be afraid of, not being who you are. So, um, yeah, I would say that's my response to that.
Yeah, yeah, great. Well, thank you, Active Minds and Alejandro, for speaking with us today.
Yeah.
Yeah.